Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Your support means the world each and every week. If you enjoyed the episode this week, hey, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come along and have a listen as well. Please also make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us on whatever streaming service you are listening on. That support helps us to come back each and every week with new episodes. Today, we are sitting down with country music icon Gord Bamford. We talked to him about his journey, which started by accident as a teenager when he signed up for a singing competition. Well, actually, his friends signed him up for that singing competition, and that turned into a single on the radio, and it has turned into a 20-year career in the Canadian country music scene. Now, he continues to release music that is making an impact. Earlier this year, he released his 10th studio album, Diamonds in a Whiskey Glass. We talked to him about that and his entire journey. So please enjoy our conversation with Gord Bamford. I want to talk a bit about your upbringing because you were born in Australia. And I wanted to learn a bit more about that and what that looked like, because your mom was part of a musical group over there. But were your parents from Australia, or did they also move there from Canada?
So good question. I get this quite a bit. So no, my mom's from Alberta. My mom's Canadian. And then I guess when she was younger, went to Australia, got married to an Aussie guy, and my dad, obviously. And, at a young age, they divorced when I was 5. So we come back to Alberta, and I was raised, in Alberta with my mom. Got remarried to a great guy, and all her brothers and sisters were farmers or school teachers. So I was raised, in the Western heritage, and grew up there on a farm. And, since I guess the last 6 years, kind of reconnected with my dad. I've been touring Australia a bit, and really had no connection with him till then.
Oh, wow.
Kind of by design, it was kind of bitter with the whole thing, but I'm glad that I have, and reconnect with him. But that's how I kind of got this Aussie Canadian guy. So I'm lucky I got dual citizenship, and I can go back and forth. But really, it was really a good thing that to be back, raised in Canada and Alberta. My mom obviously did the right thing there. But I had a great upbringing through my uncles, and my uncle Gord actually was a big influence on my life, who I was named after, and that's the whole story of how we got the Aussie connection there.
And I have to ask, you came over when you were 5, so you were talking by the time you came to Canada. Were you developing an Aussie accent when you were young at all? Do you know?
I think I did have one at some point, but obviously being here for so long, although it's easy to get it back. If you spend a couple months over there, like you kind of get the slang back and the accent a little bit. But no, I'm pretty true blue Canadian now.
Yeah, exactly. And when you guys came back over, did your mom still play music? Was that still a part of her life, or did she sort of leave that behind when you guys left Australia?
No, my mom and dad actually both played. So they kind of traveled around playing music down there and stuff, but not to the extent of what I do. But, it might have had a bit of an influence on me, I guess. My mom, she loves to have a few Caesars and sit around the campfire and sing a few tunes, but that's about it.
And so for you growing up, you were more a sports guy, right? You were sort of into baseball. And at one point, that was a route that you were possibly looking to take?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my goal in life. I played high-end baseball. I ended up playing some pro ball out of high school. I went to Australia, actually played over there, and
okay,
was kind of chasing that dream. And it's interesting because my son now, who's chasing the hockey career, it's a huge dedication to do that sort of stuff. And I just wasn't really dialed into that. I was too busy having fun and doing my thing. And I was actually a pitcher at that level, and just I ended up wrecking my rotator cuff. So it was kind of the end of it for me. But I was kind of a sports fanatic back then. That's what I wanted to do. I mean, this whole country music thing was never a plan. It just kind of happened, and I'm really fortunate that it did. But it was never kind of like I'm going to be a country music singer one day. It was never in the cards. But they all fell right, so it's good.
Right. And it was a talent show at 18 that was sort of the start of all the dominoes falling into place. But before that, when did you sort of start to develop a voice? When did you realize that you could sing and that you enjoyed singing?
No, I was actually a young guy. I mean, the story that's been told, and I don't remember it, was I got on stage with Rod Stewart at the age of 4 and was singing in Australia, and I just jumped up and played with him. But
Really?
yeah, I mean, I always sang. I mean, I was always involved in music festivals and music, and in the '90s, like country music was all the rage. Garth Brooks, George Strait, Alan Jackson. That was kind of the thing, and kind of fell in love with it, and met a buddy that I grew up with who played guitar at the time. And, we were kind of the noon show in the high school, and some people thought we were good and some people thought we were crazy, but that's kind of how it started, and the talent show was really like just we're just at a bar one night and it was this talent show, and all of a sudden my name got called out. I guess some buddies put my name in there to go up and play. I didn't even know I was involved in it. And
oh, really?
Next thing I knew, I won it. So it was like, and the winner got a song produced to be on the radio. So that's how it all started, really, but kind of crazy.
And how crazy was that? Because usually talent shows, you win some money or you win, you get to play a different stage, a bigger stage. But like, how crazy is that competition, you actually got a song on the radio? Like, was that a pretty big deal?
Yeah, it was run through it was called the Search for the Stars, the Q91 Search for the Stars. So it was run through a radio network, which is now actually Stingray is the radio station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was years ago, and you got to go to Sunday Sound in Calgary, Alberta, and have your first song produced, and that was kind of the start of everything for me. It was it's tough to listen to that song now. It's so so bad, but it was that was kind of the start of it, and then from there just was farming a bit. I was in the electrical trade, drove a lot of truck, worked in the concrete business, but back when I was playing, the club scene was really big. So you could really go across Western Canada and play 4 or 5 nights in a bar, and actually make money, So it was like, wow, I can put a band together and I'd get a truck and trailer and, play my 4 sets a night. And I think that was, that was a part of honing who I was. I mean, you got to go out and I always relate to it as like an apprenticeship. So you could go out and play these honky tonks every week, across Canada and try and get good at what you're trying to do. And, they don't have that now, which is unfortunate. But I think back in the day for guys like me, that really developed, the show side of what I do and, being comfortable in front of people and playing music. And so I was really lucky that way to have that avenue to go down. And it was a lot of fun too, man. We had a lot of good times, but those road hours are priceless, getting out there and honing your skill. And, back then that's what you did. So, it's so different today, but I think that was a big part of the building process behind who I am, for sure.
Right. And is that one of the reasons that you still like to go into those smaller communities and play those kinds of shows? Because that's what you're known for, right? Giving those communities that wouldn't normally have those shows that opportunity.
Yeah, I think for sure it probably has it probably makes sense that I did that then and I do that now, but I actually just really enjoy it. I like these small town shows, with our foundation being so prominent and raising so much money for kids and community and people in Canada. All these little towns are always looking for fundraisers too. So, we now have a program where we basically go in and play for the door and they take the bar, or they have a silent auction, or, it's just kind of a give back process that we do that's kind of been instilled into what I do and my whole career. So it's, it's a lot of fun. And actually we're setting up to do a whole bunch of them this fall now that COVID's kind of letting loose here in some areas. So
right.
It's good. It's a little more intimate. And I think that people, I guess with where I've been able to get in my career, kind of can't believe that, man, you're coming into small town Bashaw to play. I'm like, yeah, I am. We're going to raise some money for your community. And, I think that's my fan base too. It's kind of my wheelhouse and those are my people. So it's, I enjoy it. And at the end of the day, it's just about making a living and doing the right things and giving back. And, those are where your country fans are. They're in those little small communities. They'll come to the city, but if you go to them, it's even better.
Right. And at what point did the bug hit you? Because you say before that talent show, it wasn't really ever a thought to be a singer or a country singer or anything. So after that talent competition, getting that song on the radio, is there a point you can remember where it kind of hit you that this would be a cool career?
Yeah, I was probably Blame It on That Red Dress. That was my first top 10 hit that kind of took off, and people started, the industry started to, go, this guy, this guy's legit, or I think this guy's pretty good, and then I mean, as a young guy, you just want to earn a living, so it was like, holy cow, I can make money playing music and having fun and writing songs and making an impact on people's lives. I mean, this is a pretty good gig. This is fun. So, just kind of kept going, and I love being on the road and traveling. And yeah, it's just something that I think everybody strives for, man. I think when you wake up in the morning, you want to love what you're doing, and the music business has kind of, paved the path for me and my family, and, has given us a great livelihood. So, it's something that, I really enjoy, and I seem to be good at it, and it makes, it's kind of paying the bills, and it's really what it is. So it's always nice to, like I said, wake up in the morning and enjoy what you do. So I can't see myself doing anything different, really.
And you say Blame It on the Red Dress was sort of that moment. And it's funny because your debut album, your self-released album, was at the beginning of 2001. And then Blame It on the Red Dress was your album that you released in 2007. So it took sort of that long for you to realize, right?
Yeah, I think it's just the process. I mean, and I don't think it's any different today. I mean, you can have, a couple hits out there, but it takes a lot of years to build a fan base and to build, a revenue stream that you can support a family on. And, when you talk about Blame It on That Red Dress, that was 7 years after I started, and that was kind of the staple and the start of, where I'm at today. And, that song we still play every night, and people love it. So, it was a great song, and a song that impacted people. So then again, it comes down to that, right? The best song wins, and that was one of them. So it was definitely a big part of who I am.
And meeting Byron Hill early on, that was one of the Kickstarters, it seems, for you taking the path down country music.
Yeah.
Now, when you met him, how long was it before you started going down to Nashville to sort of experience that part of country music?
Yeah, so that was a huge thing for me to meet him. And it was I recorded a song called God's Green Earth that he'd written with a guy by the name of Gil Grand at the time, who was, doing really well on the scene. And there was a guy that worked with him had pitched me the song, and literally I was just surfing the internet one day, on this Byron Hill guy who wrote it, and he wrote a blog on a story about this Canadian guy that had cut a song that he said, basically, I haven't heard something this good since George Strait or this or that, and I'd love to work with this guy one day. And I'm like, oh, he's talking about me, right? So I connected with him at that point, and then yeah, he just kind of took me under his wing, and I went to Nashville, and I thought I was gonna make it. I had this deal with this Byron Hill guy who produces Gary Allen and Joe Nichols, and he's written all these hits. I'm like, wow, this is easy. I made it. I go down there, and basically it was a meeting, and it was like, I really like what you do. I want to, write some songs and produce you, and then if it's good, we'll continue to work. And that's how it all started. And he, was a huge mentor to me over my career. We did a bunch of records together, and then I had to make the tough decision to go a different direction, which was hard. He was kind of family, but we're still, really good friends today. And he's been he's been one of the major factors in my success. He taught me a lot about writing songs, and the importance of a great song, and keeping it simple. And yeah, he's been a gem of a guy for me, and definitely a big part of where I'm at today, for sure.
And I heard you talk a bit in other interviews about that relationship, and it was sort of the business side that caused sort of a rift in it. And so for you and that business side, was it before sort of that 2007 and Blame It on the Red Dress that you sort of understood the business side of things? Was that a difficult thing to wrap your head around, or have you always been business minded?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've always kind of been an entrepreneur, and always been willing to, really learn the business side of it, or learn how to write a song, or learn how to be an entertainer. Like always, every day I can learn something from somebody, and I always just wanted to control my own destiny, and not be involved in situations where you're handcuffed. And I've been able to do that, luckily, and built my own kind of little empire, I guess you can say, of what I'm doing. But it's kind of rare to do that. I mean, it comes with a lot of risk too. You got to take risks to have rewards, and I've learned a lot of hard lessons that doing it that way as well. But at the end of the day, it's I'm in control of what I do, and I think that's sometimes it's maybe a problem if you get too in control. But I think when you can be in control and do things the way you think they should be done, you have the most success. I'm really a gut feeling type guy. If I don't think it feels right, I don't do it. But I also surround myself with really great people that are better than me, and I take a lot of feedback from them, and I'm lucky to have that. So.
Right. And you talk about doing it your own way. I find it really interesting that over your, what has it been, like 20-year career, because God's Green Earth was 2001. Over that time, when you listen to that album and when you listen to your new album, the production is different, obviously, but the style of music that you are creating has remained the same throughout. And you're staying true to that. You're not sort of veering off to what's popular and the way country music might be going right now. So how important has that been for you to stay true to who you are all the way through?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, but I think that's huge. It's I mean, you can chase trends if you want, but they don't last. And I think you hit it on the head with the production side of things. I mean, you just try to stay relevant with the times on the production side. But man, I'm just really not good at that other stuff. I mean, I'm good at what I do, or I think I'm good at what I do, and I don't know how to do anything different than what I do, and which is play country music and write songs that people can relate to, and impact those smaller communities and the fan base that I have. And it's always been my goal. It's just I've always said, if I can sell 500 to 1,000 tickets anywhere in Canada, that's a really good living. And if we can control what we're doing, and we can make an impact on people and communities, that's what it's all about. And for me, it's never been about winning awards or getting accolades. And those have been plenty for me, which I'm lucky. But I mean, it's always just been about the music and the people, and creating a job that can support my family and doing something that I love. So that's kind of why I do it. And I don't know how to do anything different, so I just keep it pretty simple.
And keeping it simple. Now, do you ever take the opportunity to look back at that talent show and just kind of internalize what that moment meant and where life has taken you since then, and the trajectory that you didn't think was possible before that, what it's created for you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the starting point where I'm at today, so things start somewhere, and it always comes back to where it started too. So it's like, we're still doing the same stuff. It's just, people now know my music and they buy tickets and they enjoy it. And, I'm feeling like we just put out our best record ever. I feel like I'm just getting started. So it's, out of this pandemic, I mean, that was a tough thing for all of us, but, hopefully coming out of this now, it's almost like a resurgence of, holy cow, we're just getting started again, and it felt like that at Calgary Stampede. It was just, epic night for us, like the band, myself, the fans, so, things always happen for a reason. I mean, this is, this pandemic's obviously a kind of a restart, I think, for me. And, we put the record off months for months, trying to time it right, and hopefully we have now. But yeah, it just feels like we're kind of re-energized to get back out and give her. So
yeah, it's kind of cool. I think almost like the pandemic obviously was hard, but like you say, as a restart for you, you have Heaven on Dirt right now, which I believe is set up to be your most successful single ever. And so after 20 years of doing this and coming out of the pandemic with music that people are obviously still loving, that's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. And when you got, now you got streaming platforms, you got all these playlists. It's like, we never had that. So now you got to readjust, and your marketing thoughts are a little different. But, now we're being able to reach, people all over the world that not necessarily listen to the radio or hearing you through those chains. So it's pretty exciting times for for a guy like me, really, because now you can, now you can reach people through different platforms and get them hearing your music as well.
And with the new record, Diamonds in a Whiskey Glass, there is a deluxe version that's going to be coming out, right? Is that going to be coming soon now that things are opening up and you can get on the road? Because I know you were sort of waiting for that, right?
Yeah, so it's coming out early next year we got a big tour announcement coming out as well. I have a duet on there with Terry Clark, which is exciting. And that's going to be a single early next year with a possible tour announcement. So
Okay.
yeah, so we're setting up to kind of release that. And that's the thing, like we had so much music recorded, and it's so different today. Like most artists are putting out EPs or singles, but
Yeah.
for me, I feel like the fan base is large, and I still think that a body of music is a good thing. I think that you want to take them on a journey. And so, yeah, this, Diamonds in a Whiskey Glass, and then the deluxe is going to be, basically a collection of like 18, 19 songs that people are going to get. And right now the Diamonds record is just digital, but we're going to have hard copies, early next year of like 19 new songs. So, or songs that you've heard. So I think it's exciting to, be able to do that and give back to, the fans that have been there. And then, hopefully the new fans that are coming in.
Right. And with that sort of EP single mentality that things are sort of moving towards, like, I think it's because artists want to have their music out there regularly, right? But for you, you've always had an album it's been 20 years and you've had 10 albums. So basically every 2 years. And from every album, you seem to have like between 3 and 5 singles. So quite a few singles from every album. And so even though you do albums, you always have music out there. So has that been important for you throughout your career?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think that, people remember you for your next song. I mean, if you're lucky, you have a song like Postcard from Pasadena that they all want to hear, and you don't really like to play anymore, but they want to hear it. So it's like, I think new music is always relevant. And I think that staying relevant, even after a career like mine, is important. That there's so many great artists that are coming up behind you that keep you on your toes, and you have to, you got to stay competitive. You can't just go away. So it's, whether they go number 1 or number 5 or top 10, or they're top 20, or they're just relevant to people is something that is important. And, again, keying into the best song wins. I write a lot of songs, but I'm always looking for the best song. Like Dive Bar was a Tebe Wright, number 1 song. I mean, I'm just looking to put out the best stuff that can impact my fan base. And, it doesn't matter if I write them or don't write them. And I just think it's staying relevant in the times.
And that's what I was going to ask you about Heaven on Dirt, because that's a song that you didn't write, but it's a very personal song for you that when you listen to it, you would expect that you wrote it because it's just so personal. And so, especially with that song, how do you feel when you get that demo for a song like that speaks to you so profoundly?
Well, that's a song. So I own a publishing company. So I had a guy like Buddy Owens, who I write a lot of my stuff with, was signed to that company for a number of years. So those songs, he would turn in all those songs, and I would own those songs. And that's a song I've had for about 5 years now. So I've been kind of sitting on that song, knowing that we pitched it around it was actually written for a pitch to Blake Shelton. So we pitched it to him, and, he sat on it for a bit and didn't cut it. And just kind of come back. I'm pretty good at remembering songs that'll really work for me, and I'll dig into those catalogs and go back and get them. And that was one of them. So it just worked out that it kind of made sense in the times that we're in, but that was not the strategy on it. I just thought it was a great song. And like you said, it was really fit for me. So yeah, it's doing great things. The numbers on it are huge, but again, it's not blowing up the radio charts at the moment. I think it's top 20, but it's sure impacting people, and our streaming numbers are huge. And that's the coolest thing about where we're at today with technology and what's going on. I mean, these numbers are real. So those are people that want to hear it. So it's not so much driven by radio anymore. I mean, you can chase that number 1, which, people want to do, but it's so unique to be able to have different platforms to get your music out there. And you can, you got analytics on it. You can see the numbers. I mean, so yeah, it's numbers are massive on that song, and it's just continuing to rise. And it's just a, song that I thought would work, 5 years ago, and here it is now.
And another song on the album that is doing well in your home country of Australia is Marry Me Again. Was that song written with your wife in mind, or does it just come across like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a CCMA awards gala a few years ago, and they inducted a guy by the name of Harvey Gold into the Hall of Fame. And, he got up and gave this great speech. And at the end of the speech, he said, "My wife's here tonight." And, he was celebrating, his successes. And he said, "I can't wait. We're going to Mexico. I can't wait to take my wife to Mexico." And he said, "I just want to ask you one thing." He said, "Would you marry me again?" And I'm like, man, what a great song title. So I threw that in my phone, and down the road, it's a great question. I think people, after lots of years of marriage would look back and go like, back when we started, it was, pretty cool. It was pretty easy, and it's gotten harder and harder, and you're still the best person in my life. But, the question is like, would you do it again? Would you marry me again? So it was kind of it came through that, speech from a guy at a gala who I don't know, but, the idea was pretty cool, and it's really taken off in Australia. I think it's a question that, a lot of people would probably ask their spouses and seem to impact over there. So that's good.
And speaking of your marriage, I wanted to hear the story of when you moved back from Nashville to Alberta and you purchased some land without your wife knowing that you were purchasing it. So tell me about that story.
Yeah. So, I'd spent a lot of time out in the Bashaw area, out at the lake there when I was a kid, and had my good friends are out there. A couple of buddies of mine had gone on into oil businesses and done really well and sold their companies, and, went back to their grassroots, bought this, piece of land out on the lake, and I was just back hanging out, and they were developing it, and basically we're out on the boat fishing. They're like, "Man, you should live here." Like, I'm like, we're not going to live here, and it's nice and all that, but we want you here. We'll give you a great deal on this lakefront property. We just want you in this community. And, by the end of the boat trip and a few beers later, I bought this piece of land. So it was like, I went home and I told my wife we're moving to Bashaw, and she was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "No, it's going to be great." And anyways, it's worked out. They love it there. This school's small. The kids have done good, and we love it out there. It's called Pelican View Estates. It's really, really booming out there right now. It's developing, very fast, and it's just a great spot to raise your family. So it worked out really good.
And how many years did you live in Nashville for?
Almost 3. We're down there. I mainly went down there to be writing songs more. I was there so much that I thought that it'd be better to all be there, but, worked out that it wasn't. I just think that, raising kids in Canada is where we think we should raise our kids, and we moved back home, and that's been the right choice for us. We love it. And, I love Nashville. My wife and I would probably retire down there, but it wasn't a place for us to raise our family, which is the most important thing to me. And the kids wanted to come back, so we came back.
And I heard you talk about sort of 50 being the point where you might look at a farewell tour. And so when you look at that as an artist, first of all, how does it feel to be an artist who has enough success to have a farewell tour, to think about having a farewell tour?
Yeah, I think when you talk about a farewell tour, I mean, it's more like you're not going to play as much. You're not going to be on the road all the time. You're going to spend more time with your family and your kids and your wife. But I mean, at some point it'll happen, but, we've lost 1.5 years now. So it's
right.
Like, you want to go, there's always a goal that I set for myself, or whatever amount of revenue that you need to kind of semi-retire. It's kind of where it is. But I think when you're a musician, you play music and you impact people's lives, you never retire from it. But that's still my goal. I think slowing down at 50 for me would be good. I feel younger than I've ever been. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I mean, there's this time in your life where you peak and you think you're done, and then there's another time where it's like, hey, I think I got another 10 years of doing this because I love it. And
right.
I kind of feel like that right now. So you never know. You can't really put a time limit on what I do. I mean, it's, as long as the people still love the music, they're going to buy tickets. They'll probably keep playing, but I'm not sure at what pace, but for the next few years, we're going to be giving her.
Right. And I heard you talk about your daughter, Paisley. Is she moving towards a career in country music?
Yeah, she wants to. We've been cutting some songs on her. She's very gifted. She's just got that tone that you can't teach. And, she's playing her guitar and coming up with ideas. But, but right now she's just being a kid. And I think that's important, to play ball and volleyball and go to school. And I think getting her into the business too early is a mistake, but she's lucky because she can dabble in it. Like, she can jump on stage and play a couple of songs in front of a few thousand people, and, really hone her skill. And kind of like what I was talking about, with the bar scene back in the day. Now she can come out with dad and experience, the whole side of it and make sure she likes it. But, yeah, it's all indications are she wants to be in the business. And, she's a very driven girl. So if she wants to, we'll support her, and obviously have channels that we can, fast track some stuff and help her out. And she's very good. So we'll see what happens, but definitely we'll support that if she wants to pursue it.
And you said you wouldn't want to manage her because she's family, but you will support her. But as far as the management side goes, I know you do a lot of that for yourself right now. And so when the music starts to slow down, do you see yourself maybe moving more into the management side and supporting Canadian talent coming up?
Definitely. Her little sister says she's the manager, so she's got that role. But I think so. I mean, managing an artist is almost harder than being the artist. It's a lot of work, but it's something that I'll probably move into down the road. Obviously, probably more on a consulting basis, like especially with Paisley and what she does, and maybe more of a mentor side of things. But I'm not sure about that. I like producing records. I've started producing some stuff on this girl in Ontario, Danielle Bergeau is her name, and she's great. So I think maybe the producing side of stuff would be the first thing I get into. And I've been asked to produce a lot of records, but to be honest with you, I need to be passionate about what I'm doing. And there's the producer side of things, but then you always want to take that artist to the next level too. So you want to be able to help them, and you have to have the time to do that. So I think moving on down the road, when I'm taking some time away from touring and not being so busy, I think I can see myself dabbling in maybe the management side, but probably more on the more on the song side, finding the great songs, producing the records, and helping artists, get going, kind of like Byron did for me. So I see myself doing more of that.
And on the performing side, after a year and a half away, you have played some shows. Calgary Stampede was the biggest one. Now, was that a good indication? Because I've talked to some people and I've said, after a year and a half, wouldn't it be just the worst feeling to get on stage and be like, oh, I don't really enjoy this anymore after that break, realizing that maybe this isn't what I want to do. So for you getting back on that stage, was it just that reassurance of how much you love to do it?
I think for all of us, like, it was a pretty epic night there in Calgary. It was, and they always put me on the last Sunday, which is kind of a hit and miss,
right,
or not, but it was packed. And yeah, everybody was excited to be out there and play, and it was fun. I think on the other side of it, like, I feel sorry for some of these new artists that were just coming out, at that time, and having a couple hits and their momentum, being right there to break, and then all of a sudden not being able to go out and connect with people. And I feel bad for some of those acts that, had spent all that time getting to a point where here it's finally going to take off, and then having to take this, unexpected break. But hopefully they can rebound. But for me, I was lucky because I had this fan base of people, and it was almost like it was, you talk about sitting the market out and keeping people hungry for coming back to your shows. It was like it happened because it happened for everybody. So it was almost like a resurgence for us to go back out and play again. And it was like, man, we can't wait to see this guy again. So it actually kind of worked, other than we couldn't leave our houses and we weren't making revenue. It was kind of I'll say a nice break. It wasn't nice, but it kind of worked out for me.
And how difficult was that break on you as sort of the business manager for yourself? And I know you have your band, and over the past year, the band has changed out some members because of COVID. How difficult was that for you, just sort of sitting there and seeing your band and not being able to support them by having them out on tour?
Yeah, it was really tough, because those are, those 10 people that work in your organization you're reliable for, that's their livelihood. So it's probably harder on that side than it was for me to sit at home. But, we found ways to keep them busy and keep them creative and making a little bit of income. But yeah, we did lose a couple of bandmates, I had these guys for 10 years, that had to actually get jobs. And and they got good jobs, and the jobs they still have, and it come down to they can only play weekends, and that didn't work for me. So we had to replace a couple people, and it's worked out really well. It's sometimes that happens, and they're great people that we replaced, but they're enjoying what they're doing, and maybe it was a reset for them too to figure out their life a little bit. But we got a couple new members that are young and ready to go, and ready. It's good. Change is always good. Sometimes change happens on its own, which is what the pandemic has made happen for a couple of the bandmates. But we're sad they're not part of it, but we're also happy to move forward with the new bandmates that are in the band. And our band's pretty tight knit team. They've been around for a long time, and I think that's a testament to how we treat them and how our organization works. And we did our best to make sure they were taken care of in the pandemic. And it's good. Coming out of it's gonna be fine.
And what was it like being back on the bus? What did the body think of that?
Well, the bus didn't break down, so we're worried about it sitting for 18 months. But yeah, it was great, man. It was just it was a pretty special night there in Calgary. I think everybody was kind of relieved to be playing to people, not cars honking horns, and it was awesome. And now it's like this Energizer bunny. We're just ready to go again. It's been a nice reset, to be honest with you.
And so when can we expect the announcement of the new music and the tour?
Yeah, pretty quick. We got a small town Western Canada type, kick COVID in the ass is what it's called.
Nice.
And it's going to get announced here, and we're going to stagger it. But there's about 30 small town dates that are going to happen, mainly in, depending on the rules, but mainly in Western Canada, and pretty much all through October, right through to the end of February, just staggering stuff and playing that. And then we got a big arena announcement coming out here early next year. So
nice. Awesome. And what can we expect from the deluxe edition of the album and the new songs that are coming out?
It's just meat and potatoes, man. It's just country music. It's stuff that I grew up on, the stuff that I love. And, and then there's some, today's radio stuff in there. It's just Gord Bamford stuff. It's just, kind of on steroids, really. So it's the same sort of thing, but I think it's the best stuff we've ever done.
I love it. I love it. And that's what I say. It's amazing that with your music, like you say, it's Gord Bamford. We know what we're going to get. There's a few surprises in there, but for the most part, that if you like Gord Bamford, you will like the new stuff. And so I really appreciate that, the way you've been able to sort of navigate your career in a way that after 20 years, you're still making it work, and you're still having success, and you're still, continuing to build your fan base over all of that time. So congratulations on all of that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I mean, I think that's important. I think you gotta, you gotta cater to the fans that you've had all these years, but then you also got to reach out and find new ones. And like, again, that's what the streaming stuff's done for us, to be able to get our music out there to people that have never heard it before. And it's such a, I don't know, it's just so simple, the stuff that we do. I think people can relate to it. And, and then having, like we talked about, the bandmates and the show and the crew and the team, like having good people is such a key to your success. And I've been lucky to have great people. So we have them, and we're ready to go. And, it's going to be fun. The next few years are going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be out playing a lot. Like, you're going to see us everywhere. We're going to play small towns. We're going to play big cities. We're going to play little halls. We're going to play big arenas. I think people are itching to have music again. And, the timing's great to get back out and do it. So we might as well. That's what we do to earn our living. So we might as well be out playing, not sitting at home.
And that's amazing. I love that you have not gotten to a point where you're like, I want to make money, I'm just playing arenas. You're doing it all. You're still playing those little halls as well as the big arenas. And I think that just speaks to the kind of artist you are, and the down home roots that you've been able to keep throughout this whole career.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been my whole motto. I was raised that way. You work hard to play hard, and, you got to be a good guy, and you got to, your next move is important, and what you say and what you do. I've learned a lot of hard lessons that way, but I think at the end of the day, it's just being a good person and doing things that you love, and giving back. And that's been a big part of me is giving back to communities and people. And because really, I mean, I can't work with those people that are buying the tickets and the records and downloading the songs. Like, it's kind of a give and take thing. And I think we've been good at doing that, and we really enjoy doing that. So.
And you talk about giving back. I want to talk the numbers for 1 sec before we go, because with your foundation, I saw it's been 14 years, $4.2 million raised, and you've supported over 700,000 kids and community members through that. That's got to be a pretty darn good feeling.
It is. And the best part about that is it's all Canadian. We all our money stays in Canada, and we have so many people here that need help. I appreciate all the efforts that happen outside of Canada that people do, but I mean, it's important to me as a Canadian to give back to our own people. And, it's mainly driven through the youth or the children's hospitals and kids. And, as you grow up and have a family and you do things in life, your motives change a bit. Your priorities are different. And, the next generation of the kids that are coming up are our next generation of hopefully superstars out there. So, you just try and give back to that and be involved in communities and with people. And it just kind of makes sense to do all that stuff, and it's also something that I love to do. So I'm most passionate about that. And yeah, the foundation's just been a massive, thing for us. It's kind of gone to places that, we never dreamed of. And it's just, we're building more and more of it. Like, we're expanding our golf tournament now. We're doing different things. And yeah, we get, again, just great people working in that organization, which make it all happen.
Thank you guys once again so much for listening. And thank you to Gord for stopping by and sharing his story. Check out his album, Diamonds in a Whiskey Glass, wherever you stream your music. And keep an eye out for more info on the deluxe edition of that album coming soon, and also more tour dates throughout the year. Please also make sure you are liking, sharing, following, subscribing to us on whatever streaming service you are listening on, and head over to social media as well. Give us a follow there to stay up to date on all the exciting interviews we have coming up in the future. Thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.